Thank you. And now that I have permission from Sam Love, I'm going to go ahead and start. Just kidding. So I usually do some spoken word stuff up here quite a bit, but I usually don't use up my entire time. I might actually do that tonight, so that's going to be a real thing for me. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight into myself, my name is Glenda, and I go by Glenda The Lively here. I can't buy the copyright rights to Glenda the Good, and I don't want to get sued, so this is a good, in between. I also, just about like a month and a half ago, came out to my family as pansexual, so that was a huge thing for me. And it's also really influenced a lot of my spoken word and my poetry, and even, like, not only my life, but kind of just how I've been seeing the world lately. So I'm actually going to start with some of my old stuff, and then kind of go into the new. And I also was requested by a friend to do a poem that she wrote as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Your Son Thinks I'm Hot, which is a poem I wrote to a woman in response to how she was acting around me, and when I found out who her son was. So this was my response that I don't think she's ever heard. So it says, Your son thinks I'm hot. Hello, miss, who glares at my existence, doesn't like my hair or my ink, and you think the jewelry in my face is offensive. That's really too bad, but I have a confession. I've spent the night with your son. You see, it's usually this way. A Bible-thumping woman like you has a boy that finds me intriguing. They slip into the bar seat beside me and buy me drinks. They ask for my number and never ask me questions of how I think. I think they're cute in their attempts, thinking they have a chance. I usually turn them down, but in your unique case, I thought, what the heck? It is hilarious to me that you think I'm so strange, while your daughters want my hair and your sons want my X-rated things. But your boy, I remember. Yours was the guy that bought me breakfast. Your kid drove out of town just because I was the one he wanted to spend the day with. Now, you may think this is a poem to put you down or kick your ass, but really, I'm here to thank you because you raised a son that asked. He asked for the seat beside me. He asked for my opinion on the latest song trend. He was curious about my beliefs and plans for a future. I spent the night on his bed while he had a pallet on the floor, all because we drank too much but could not leave the night at the bar door. I'm not the woman that you think you see, nor are you the parent that I assumed you to be. Thank you. The next one is really deep. There has been very few times I've read this one and have not cried, so please excuse me. And this one is called Too Heavy. I remember things like they just happened. Images and scenes play the flashbacks of things I'd rather forget. Never spoken because that makes the past more real. Family and friends in denial because we were never really taught in touch with the way things make us feel. I'm looking out a window watching siblings play. He placed a hand on my shoulder. I could be 9 years or younger. He whispers to step away or hell will be paid. But the rest is too heavy. I remember the illusion of love a man painted for me once, thinking it was unique and true, until I found out it was a carbon copy he had sold 7 others to. I tried to fight the truth through thoughts and spoken words. He gets angry, he raises his fist, and the rest is too heavy. A strange guy is messaging me, claiming he knows my sister, and that's how he got my number. One date won't hurt you, Glenda, everyone says. 2 drinks later, and some small talk, lands his hand skimming my knee. I have a flashback of a boy playing fire engine on my leg, saying red light, asked to stop. Fire trucks don't stop at red lights, and the rest is still too heavy. I see a closed door slam, a baby girl crying. I hold the little sister until she feels less frightened. Picture-perfect family, stained with abandonment, and a father left alone with responsibilities. And the rest is just too heavy. Trauma is no stranger to me. We have become close friends. Anxiety is like a cousin, depression like a partner in life. But these things are weights on my shoulders and mine alone. To speak of them would be mean. To take that weight and give it to another, that's not fair. You weren't there, and this is just too heavy. Thank you. A little bit of a lighter one. This was written in a thought process of what I'm going to be doing. I'm a student at ETSU, and I'm about to be graduating. And I was asked, what are you going to do after graduation? And this is what came out of it. And it says, heading out west. I'm close to crossing the stage that gives me a paper that should read, I tried to make my family proud. But soon after, I'll be a bird, flying with metal wings out west to where they say angels dwell. Calm down, I'm not dying, I'm going to Los Angeles. But if you ask my anxiety, there is no difference. But I need this leap. I need a place that doesn't say y'all or you guyses. I want to spend my life in a place that doesn't use bless your heart in ironic phrases. I'm not made for a place like this. Have you seen my hair? My piercings? Or tats? Let not even go into my sexuality or how my brain thinks of politics and civil rights. I feel like a transplant that has been trying to reject itself but refuses to lose the fight. 25 years, now 26, may seem young, but it has been a long time. A lifetime of pretending and fake smiles, quiet dinners, lying relationships. So I'll hang out that thick piece of paper that says my family can say they owned my life for 5+ years. But the wall it will hang from will be painted in wild colors, and the coastal sun will outshine its shadow. Thank you. This next one's a little too heavy, but then I'll go into a lighter one. As you guys can see, I have a pattern. I'm trying to make things less awkward. And this one's a really one that hits kind of like really home for me, because my mother, whom was in one of the first ones I read, left my sister and I when we were very young, and just about a year and a half ago tried to quote unquote commit suicide for the first time. And during a therapist appointment, I was asked, how does that make you feel? Which is like every therapist appointment, right? You say something, how does that make you feel? Never really answers, just constant that one question. And I was asked to write about it, and the ghost that's not dead came out of it. I have a person that is dead to me. They haunt me, they torment me, the punishment is never ceasing from the time I wake up to when I go back to bed and pretend I am sleeping, but yet they aren't dead. She's alive and well. Don't get me wrong, she tried 9 times this year to be exact, which time and time failing and more dramatic than the last. If I sound harsh and unsympathetic, it's because I am. This isn't a cry for help from a broken woman. It's another tantrum from a 40-year-old child that needs 100% of everyone's attention. She's the reason that I can't have kids. She's the reason I'm scared of doctors and men. The reason I stare at my reflection pointing out everything that doesn't make me like her. But I've mourned her. I've mentally buried her away. I respectfully do not speak her name. But I miss you, Mom. Every day. Thank you. So on to a lighter one, because that was super heavy. As I said before, I did come out recently, and that was a huge, huge thing for me, which caused me to write 2 more poetries, poets, whatever. And it's been a long time since I've actually written something new, so I thought this would be really cool. And so I have 3 of them. This one's called I'm Pansexual. I'm sorry. Oh wait, hold on. Before I start, let me explain this one because it's going to get really confusing. When I came out, a friend of mine actually asked me out because she found me attractive. And this was like my first date going out, and like, this is a pansexual relationship. Like, oh my gosh. And, but I still had a tendency of hiding that in public. And this was the reaction of that, of, what was I thinking in that moment. Now I'm going to go in, sorry. I'm sorry. This is still so new. I'm freshly out of the closet a day or two, so please excuse me looking over my shoulder or reluctantly touching your hand. Let me start from the beginning. Maybe then you will understand. I was raised with the message, it's not okay to be gay. My father spent an hour and a half yelling about me, how queers were going to burn in hell. When my mother found out that I liked girls, she sent me to my house that only knew to use violence to persuade. But here I stand anyway. It took over a decade and a half for me to pick the lock on the closet door that I was behind. I spent years hiding relationships, feelings, even just points of view, afraid that even the slightest slip would give off a homosexual sign. But I'm out. I can't even describe what that's like for me. The closet I came out to is when it rains for what it feels like forever, and then a warm ray of sun warms you, but the warmth comes from the inside like it's whiskey. I feared of loneliness and abandonment, but my phone that day was flooded with love and encouragement. People that I didn't know would care were sending me messages that I was brave and that day would be held with such significance. It's still not easy. Most of my family doesn't talk to me, and their friends have said that they're disowning me as much as a 26-year-old can be. One even said that there were a prayer circle made in my name due to that the devil had to be the cause of the stain that I brought to my family's name. But I'm not ashamed. This is the truth. For the first time in my life, I can finally live in my youth. The lies and the hiding were aging me more than cigarettes or alcohol. I was living a life that did not belong to me at all. So let's start this again and act like we haven't had the chance to meet. My name is Glenda The Lively. I'm a proud pansexual queer, and I think sharing a meal with you would be really neat. Thank you. So I'm going to go with one that I read after to kind of catch you guys up on that. Family's starting to get a little bit better about the whole me not being super hetero. But this is a thing I read to think about the whole conversation of me coming out to my family and their reactions and stuff like that. So this is, I'm attached to the family. I remember being 8 or 9 when my grandma shielded my gaze from a gay couple kissing in the mall. I must have been 11 when I had my first crush. It was on a man that wore makeup and was better at it than some women I knew. After that, I continued to have confusing feelings and remember them all. I've never been a normal woman. I was just always put on the mask of one, always dating the wrong guys, always straightening my long hair, always privately confessing my sins in silent prayers. I'm sorry, God, for wanting something I've never told is wrong. I'm sorry that I can't stop wanting. I'm sorry. A decade later, and I decide it's time to like the women I see in the mirrors. It's time to face my biggest fear. I have to be real with ones who think that I have been the realist. How do you tell someone that you have lied for so long, that the picture you painted was a farce, and that it was never meant to be permanent? How do you confess something that will break a whole family's heart? You do so like removing a Band-Aid. Slowly at first, until you regret going easy, and then all at once, just to take in the pain entirely. That is it. We sit in the silence, and my throat starts to close, like it was allergic to the words that just came out like I just did. I start to consider blurting out, "Just kidding!" When, after a few microaggressions, my grandmother looks straight at me in the eyes and says, "You're still Glenda." I feel the first tear fall down my cheek as it calls for more to stream down my face. Bittersweet, the sentence's taste. I wish I could tell her that it wasn't true. Now that everyone knows, I don't want to still be Glenda. But the meaning lingered with me while the words disappeared. My grandmother was not attaching me to the image she used to. She was saying I was still her granddaughter. She was keeping me attached to the family. Thank you. I think only got 2 more, so you only have to put up with me for a little while longer.
Yeah, Glenda.
Thank you. For half a second, I heard woo, and I'm like, yeah, it's only a few more minutes, thanks. but I appreciate the love. Trying to find out. Oh, I know where it was. Sorry. This is the one that my friend sent me, and I was trying to remember where I put it because this is a new phone, and who knows where things are now. And by the way, I already cursed in one. This is an adult event. This has a couple more curse words in it, just saying. But I think it's very relatable. I was going to say, did I hear somebody gasp? Like, I don't think there's anybody below the age of 18 in this audience. So, oh, are you raising your... I'm so sorry. Would you like to leave? I'll give you the second. That was a joke. If you were going to leave, I was literally going to be like, everybody just like, public shame. Just kidding. If you don't notice, I try to use humor because I get nervous. That's my thing. Sorry. Anyway, I'll have to say sorry a lot. Go ahead. Sorry. Okay, so this one is called Fuck the Guy That Got Away From You. I thought you... Already, everybody's like, yes. I thought you looked at me, but it was past me, through me. Is she standing behind me, hiding? Does my shadow resemble her ghost? Let me guess. Our voice is the same, and our color almost, except hers is a little bit more red, a little more lovely in the light. I guess I should feel honor. Not everyone gets to resemble excellence. If she's gold, I'm a fucking fool. A cheap replica of your idealism. You're just like her, you say, except I'm not. If I were, you might give a damn. You don't give a damn about me. In the end, and this is the end, we're all the same all along because we both get tired of your bullshit. Thank you. So yeah, I lied. There was quite a few curse words. I did not read that right. Thank you, nobody, for walking out. I really appreciate that. And I have one more, along with me being just a normal, outed, semi-homosexual, queer person that also wants to be a leader out in the world for some reason. I also have PTSD and anxiety. And this is me reacting and kind of like reminiscing before I came out, because, by the way, if you aren't familiar with where you are currently, this is the Willow Coffeehouse and Music Room. And just give them another applause for, like, allowing me to host this. This wasn't even my idea. I went to Terry, who was one of the co-owners, and was like, can we please do this? And she's like, I've been wanting to have one of these for all so long. Like, just get it done. And I was like, I'll do it, I swear. And I like almost didn't have to practically, but I practically begged Sam Lowe to like co-host with me because I couldn't do it by myself.
So you had me.
Yeah. But this place has like a really special place in my heart. I was actually just talking to a new person about how like this was my second home and has been for a few years. I met a few people, you know, that have become just like my closest friends here. So this is kind of me. I was sitting here one day, middle of the day, which is rare, and enjoying a cup of coffee in silence, again, very rare. And I was just kind of reminiscing of like when I first walked in and like what headspace I was at the time and how this place kind of like brought me out of like a huge dark place. And post-traumatic screwed up came up. It's written in terrible handwriting, but miraculously, it's hard to mistake what it says. Post-traumatic stress disorder coupled with high anxiety and depression. I'm having to be medicated because a professor and her lack of professionalism pushed me past the breaking point. Before I was passing for normal, but a few mandatory videos of sexual assault and a few weeks of not being able to rest my eyes, and here we are. A blue slip of paper and a pharmacist with wide eyes are what I remember most before the fog sets in. People tell me that I was different then. Not bad, Not good, just different. I had to leave college because seeing the professor brought on panic attacks, which brought on higher dosages, which brought me to begging God just to end it. I moved to a small apartment and spent most of my time in a coffee house or a bar. The coffee house was like coming home, and the bar was like drowning in forgetfulness, and I liked drowning. After the meds wore off and the coffee set in, I came to my senses and came out of the closet on a carpeted stage with paper stars, and I never felt more comfortable. I know it sounds funny, but I found a family while being post-traumatically screwed up. Thank you.